Hey, this is Ina Langerman from Violina.live, helping you along your musical journey. This video is about how to connect or switch between Détaché and Spiccato bow strokes. This is a topic that has been requested to me several times and very recently as well. I think one of the trickiest things to do with the bow in general is switching between different bow strokes, especially if it happens within a single phrase when you have to do it seamlessly. And so I want to dive into this topic a little bit more on this channel, and we're going to start with Détaché and Spiccato because they are very much related to each other. Now, I did talk about this, how to do this in a very basic way in a very old video of mine on Spiccato. I'm going to link it right above here in the description below so you can check it out. But I want to zoom in a little bit more on how to practice this transition a little bit more in this video. So first we're going to cover the prerequisites and fundamentals, like what it takes to have a good spiccato, one that's reliable. Then we're going to go into different variants of spiccato, like different sounds you can possibly make. Then we're going to go into Ševčík's Opus 3. This is 40 variations on a theme. I think it is a fantastic book if you want to practice your bow strokes without getting overwhelmed. I think the Opus 3 is probably the best tool that I can recommend to practice not just different bow strokes, but also how to put them together, how to switch between them. And finally, we're gonna try a little bit of Dont's second caprice, which I think is one of the best for practicing switching between Détaché and Spiccato. It has a very nice melodies, a very nice harmonies, and it also features string crossings that makes it a little bit more challenging, but it also helps to translate into repertoire later when you have to do this in repertoire. Now, if you want to go deeper on this topic or any other topic I do on this channel, I welcome you to check out my community on Patreon, where you can watch me practice in real time what goes through my mind. I kind of guide my way and you guys through how I practice. Most recently, I posted how I'm working on some Bach and scales. Also, there is a community chat where you can all meet each other and discuss what you're working on music, philosophy, whatever comes to mind. And finally, you can also contact me directly there, and you can work with me one-on-one to either get personalized feedback by doing video exchange or by taking lessons. Okay, so fundamentals of the bow hold are essential to have a really good spiccato. And in order to have a great spiccato, we need to have a really smooth détaché. Essentially, it's very related to a détaché where we use a small amount of bow, but it happens in the air, and in the middle of it, it happens to touch the string. That's kind of the basics of how spiccato bow stroke happens. So if I just kind of do a détaché about an inch above the open string and start touching down in the middle of that stroke, we get a basic spiccato. Okay, very important is that we have a good balance in our fingers. All 5 fingers have to be curved, so you want to check that it's nicely balanced, not too floppy. You don't want it to be just like super loose like this. It can't be flopping around, but it also can't be like, it can't be tight like this. It can't look like this. So how to determine that? Well, if you just kind of hang your arm by your side like this in its neutral position and do like one of those lazy arm swings that I talk about in one of my previous videos, and pick up the bow just like this, don't do anything special to it, most likely the fingers will fall into their most natural place. So we want a natural rebound in the fingers when we do spiccato, because it's kind of a response to what the bow is going to be doing. Now, the forearm is mostly in charge in spiccato. Sometimes we help with the upper arm, but most important is to never isolate any one part of the arm structure. Okay, I talked about it so many times in my recent videos. So how to get a good spiccato is first start with a détaché like this. in the middle of the bow. And notice that my elbow, what my elbow is doing, it's kind of doing this almost like an infinity sign. So at the end of the down bow, it leads the start of the up bow by preparing for the up bow. And at the end of the up bow, it prepares for the next down bow. So the elbow is almost like leading, it's almost leading the arm, and that's leading the hand, and that's leading the bow. So it turns into like a wave. It's like an arm wave, okay? And what it helps to do is to create a nice even sound. Then the next step, what we're going to do is we're going to practice the détaché like this. 2 strokes down and up, and on the up bow we're going to lift the bow. Like this. Do it several times. Down, up. And when you lift, you want to feel this nice balance in, check your fingers that they're balanced, that your pinky is not doing any funky thing here. And then you can try a little bit of the opposite, up, up, down, and you want to feel this follow through, okay? Okay, then finally, we're going to play spiccato from above the string. So imagine you're doing détaché in the air. And you can try different speeds. Okay, so the final prerequisite is to practice colle, because we want the fingers to have some flexibility, but also have good stability and strength. So it's a combination of the two. You want strength and flexibility to kind of balanced out together, and colle is the best kind of exercise for it. So you kind of practice this kind of motion. So colle we practice usually at the frog at first, and we want to try our best to move just the fingers. This is just an exercise. We don't actually perform like this. Because later we cannot be isolating movements. Like now when I'm doing this exercise, I'm actually leaving out the rest of my arm, but when you are playing music, we have to put it all back together, okay? But this helps to build up the strength in our fingers and also have this mobility. I have a separate video on how to practice colle. I'm going to link that as well. And also practice this in the middle. And at the tip. Although we don't do spiccato at the tip, but as a bonus, you can do that as well. I would practice it mostly in the middle and at the balance point, just to kind of get this going. The next thing we're going to do is also notice how spiccato is also related to ricochet. Just like letting the bow bounce. So what we're going to do is we're going to find right in the middle how to make it do this ricochet motion, but with a steady beat, okay? So I'm not really doing a whole lot. I'm just kind of holding the bow and letting it bounce. So right now it's all vertical, right? And the spiccato is a combination of vertical and horizontal. So I'm going to start adding a little side to side, a little bit more. Now I'm going to tilt the bow. It's going to get longer. I'm going to make it even longer, broader. And we end up on the string. So what I just did is I practiced going from like almost no sound to a broad détaché. So I would go back and forth from this. So I'll go do the opposite now. I'll start with a détaché and go back. Smaller. No. So when you go back from détaché to spiccato, start lifting, So you can play around with this, because this way you can get a feel for height versus length, and depending on what kind of sound you're going for, depending on what the speed you're going for, you have to find the right combination. Okay, so a lot of it has to do with experimentation. It also has to do with what kind of bow you're using. Okay, so the bows are a little different. Notice that when I did flat hair, the bow had a lot more vertical going on. It's a lot shorter. But if I do it tilted, I involve a little bit more of the rest of my arm here to give it the same momentum. So next thing we're going to do is we're going to go to Ševčík's Opus 3. I'm going to go to variants number 6 and number 10 in the 40 variations. So in number 6, we have 16th notes on the string in the middle of the bow, and they switch to spiccato 8th notes. Well, let's see. It says 132 to the quarter here, but I'm going to go a little bit slower. I'm going to go like maybe 104. I'm going to turn the metronome on. I don't know if you could, hopefully you can hear that. So I'm going to do not just a few measures of this. 1, 2, 3. So now let's just talk a little bit about how exactly what happens when we switch, right? To go from détaché to spiccato, you simply, the first note of the spiccato starts on the string and then it comes off, and the rest continues in that same momentum. Then, to go from spiccato to détaché, it's a little bit more tricky. You need a very split second. You're going to need a split second where you reset the bow. So what I would do here in this example, the spiccato notes are 8th notes. So that last 8th note, I would imagine it as 2 16th notes. And as if on that last 16th note, that's when I'm placing the bow. So I also want to make sure that my bow is not bouncing too high. That makes it really difficult. And also, what's the tilt of the bow? This versus this. I like to keep it just a little bit like this. Place. Also, right before I place, I'm doing this little thing, I don't know if you can see in the camera. My elbow anticipates it by going down just a little bit, because it helps the bow to sink into the string easier. If my elbow is too high, it's much harder to put it back down, but if it's lower, it's actually easier to do this, the Colle that I talked about earlier, if the elbow is just a little bit lower. Again, this is just something that's working for me, but do a little experimentation here. But I feel like when the elbow is too high here, when you go back to the détaché, it makes the arm a little bit too stiff. But when it anticipates the down bow of the first détaché, it really helps. So one, two, three, four, five, and place. So that's something you can try. So I'm going to play the very beginning a little slower. Place. Yeah, so I would start this quite slow actually to pay attention to what's happening. You also can't go too slow because we do need momentum for it to translate, okay? Let's go to variation number 10. So in variation number 10, it's actually, this one's more difficult. And Ševčík puts in quarter to 160. We're not going to do that. That's very fast. But this one, it has 4 8th notes, spiccato, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then slur to 8th notes. So it's like, imagine you're doing a quarter note with the bow for that. So this one is also difficult because each measure starts on different bow direction. So start with more involvement in the upper arm. I think the upper arm is very, very helpful here. And to go faster, my upper arm will be a little less involved and my bow might be a little bit more flat. But my elbow still anticipates for the slurs. Okay, so I'm gonna try this, a little bit of this at quarter note to 116. It's quite a bit slower than what it says 160. And it'll be a little bit lower in the bow for this tempo. And let's start it from the string. So the first spiccato note starts like okay, let's try it a little bit faster. So pay attention to the roll of the elbow here. 1, 2, 3. That was 130. So just for comparison, I'll put it on 160 now, just so you can see the difference in what has to happen here. So just going to open string first. Much less bow. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so a little bit about string crossing. In general, spiccato, détaché, no matter which one you are doing, the arm has to prepare early. The arm has to prepare for the new string a little bit early. For spiccato especially, it actually has to prepare just a little bit earlier. So on the G, if I'm doing open A here, G, on the G I go down with the arm at the same time. So for this one, elbow goes first. So the elbow goes up while I'm playing the B flat before the bow crosses over to G. So the next measure starts up bow. So here. So the previous note has the arm has to do two things. One is to get it off the string, but also has to cross over before the next note on the new string begins. Finally, we're going to go into a little bit of Don't Caprice number 2. The Détaché here, I would play it actually more in the upper half, from the middle to the upper half. It says presto, but we're not going to do it presto. I would kind of just keep it a nice yaka taka 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 taka. You could do it like that. So you could even start it much slower. You can start it very slow. You can start it like that. Now here it's spiccato, so you can start the first note of the string as well, but this slur, the last slur, it's actually nice to lift the bow after that slur because it kind of creates the momentum. Okay, so let's give it metronome tempo. Let's go a little bit faster. Let's see what this is. Let's see. This is 63. I'm just gonna put it like this so it doesn't change the sound. Okay, so this is quarters to 63. Just kind of moderato. Back on the string on the next forte. So what I would like to practice is actually getting back into the détaché. One thing you can do here, you can I like to add a crescendo, the measure before, and start getting more and more on the string, kind of in a similar way as I showed you closer to the beginning of this video when I was showing the kind of, we're going from this all the way to all that. So you could actually do, I'll go 2 measures before the next forte. So what I did is I got a little broader for each group. So that's something you can try to do. That's one way you can get back on here in something like this. Or if you wanted to make it sudden, if you want the same thing but without doing that. Place. You have to place. So that's the difference, is that the first version I changed the bow stroke, I made it gradual. It's similar to kind of like whether you do a gradual dynamic with the bow or a subito dynamic change, depends. Or in this case, it's is it a subito bow stroke change or is it a transitionary one? So the transitionary one. Or if it's sudden, place. So let's take the A minor scale. We'll do each note 4 notes, détaché 4 notes, spiccato, for example. So these are some of the most important ways how to practice spiccato and détaché, switching between the 2 bow strokes. Definitely, more than anything, I do recommend Ševčík Opus 3 40 variations. I think it's a timeless tool that I think I'm going to be using for as long as I've played the violin. It's been super helpful for me. Let me know what you're working on and let me know your biggest takeaway in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, share this with a friend or a colleague to help support this channel and to help the YouTube algorithm figure out what to do with this and send it to the right people. I'm going to also, for my Patreon followers, I'm going to create a PDF, downloadable PDF of this video with step-by-step things that you can do to improve on your spiccato and also everything we talked about here, so that you can see it visually instead of, oh, let's find the right video and find the right timestamp. That takes a very long time. So sometimes having that PDF for some folks is nice to have. Once that's available, that's going to be also down in the description below. Until next time, happy practicing.